It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Yes, it's time to talk movies. Why? Because it's a klein Vrydag, which means tomorrow is Friday, which means new movies releasing in the box office. And JP Sebastian is here with a nice little smorgasbord, something for everybody this morning. Now, we've had great variety today. That seems to be the common
segment.
thread. Yeah.
Yes, let him cook.
No, let this stew, my friend. This is great. So let's start it off with a good person, Zach Braff.
We are stewing with Pugh. Florence Pugh
is amazing.
Is a revelation for a lot of people.
She's an amazing
What was your first sort of like time that she graced you for a lot of people? Was Midsommar. People might have been surprised that she started in that WWE movie, which she played really well and was fighting with my family.
She seems to have made the right choices in her career.
And you can give her anything to chew over and she does it really well. And so chewing over here with, wow, we're forgetting another big name.
Yeah, I know.
Morgan Freeman, just by the way, standing shoulder to shoulder with an actor of his caliber. It's another turn to a more dramatic thing rather than we've seen her in this really harrowing kind of stuff.
Yeah, Midsommar's traumatic.
Yeah,
traumatic.
No, if you've been exposed to, let's say, put it that way, Midsommar. The story here is again though about trauma and fortunately in a more dramatic kind of like relaxed setting than those kind of things. So she is involved in a cataclysmic accident with Morgan Freeman's daughter, who I believe is supposed to be her sister-in-law, like any day now. When there's a vehicle accident, you find out that I think, I'm not seeing this movie myself, it's only out tomorrow, that she is an alcoholic, and that might have been part of the instigating issue. Morgan Freeman, I think, is also struggling with it, and they catch each other at AA, where she's been trying to obviously avoid the father of the daughter who she feels responsible for, so... These stories happen, don't they? Like that
they really do, though.
People connect with the family of the victim as well. That must be like intense. Like, how do you start again? How do you go, hey, so I'm the guy, or I'm the girl who was there when that happened, kind of thing. Can you blame yourself, whatever? And these are all the questions that you're going to have to ask yourselves. Is she now a terrible person for what she did? Can she find repentance with Morgan Freeman? Can the two of them together help him, according to the storyline, raise the granddaughter? Zach Braff has previously done very sort of like heartfelt stuff. Garden State was the first thing that was... I roll my eyes because it's very much of its time, but it is sort of a landmark, but shame. And the two of them just broke up in 2022, so I wonder if that sort of emotional weight
had that impact. Wow, but I'm glad it's got a cast like that carrying that narrative. Absolutely beautiful.
Oh, tomorrow.
That's a good person. Suzume. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Suzume works just fine. Makoto Shinkai is the more important name there, though. And, he was the director of Your Name, was one of his previous movies. The Place Promised of Our Early Days. Prior to that was Weathering with You. These are all... I want people to understand this. I'm not an otaku, okay? I'm not like a nerdy dude for anime or anything like that. But a lot of the reason why anime is so friggin' impressive is that, well, you know, Japanese studios, when they were just starting out after World War II, it's like, we don't have the money to do live action. Let's just do animation
our own
miraculously, like meticulously. And so...
What artistically?
People write off animation to say it's kid stuff, it's not for me, but really what you're seeing here is a romantic movie, and it's done beautifully. The story being that Suzume is this high school girl who one day is going on her way to school after having a bad dream about trying to rescue her mother from rubble. She comes across a mysterious guy. Obviously, they catch each other's eye. And he ends up being super mysterious to the point that he's trying to close portals to other worlds, which are opening up destructive incidents all over Japan. So this is in the wake of sad things like Fukushima Daiichi, etc., etc. And Japan faces a lot of earthquakes and whatnot. So it feels similar to the masterpieces of Studio Ghibli, where, like in Spirited Away, the handsome heartthrob guy in this, by the way, naturally turns into a three-legged toy chair. And this personified chair is the thing that she has to sort of chase around. But he obviously then becomes symbolic of a place and a time in her personal trauma. Similarly, like I was saying about Spirited Away, where she finds out, the little girl, that the river is the love of her life from a childhood memory. Similar to, there was another one called Mirai no Mirai. This is also very good, director Mamoru Hosoda, where the dog becomes personified, but it is from a place of, it's not just, oh, well, it's goofy fantasy, from a memory of trauma.
But there's a process, and I think by watching these films, you work through that, whether consciously or unconsciously.
Yeah.
You go through that process. Now, what makes them so powerful, when you feel those emotions, it's tapping into that childhood vein. It's tapping into that.
So you almost like sucker the audience. You rope them in, you hook them by saying, oh, it's just playful fantasy. And you bare yourself vulnerably to this childlike sort of like experience, and it opens you up to...
I love that. Transformative.
Yes.
This one's got the crew buzzing, all the big kids in studio are loving the sound of Renfield. Very quickly, set the scene.
what was the coming out party for you when we realized, like for a long time, we were just like, Nick Cage is weird. Clearly, Nick Cage is on another
We just
planet.
couldn't put our finger on it.
And then we figured out, maybe a lot of people only recently, that the guy has been enjoying his life.
Yeah.
And thankfully, someone has made him Dracula, which is perfectly over the top, which is appropriate since previously he did Vampire's Kiss, which is one of his weirdest movies. It's really hard to say Nicolas Cage's weirdest movie. Watch Deadfall
That's
if you
quite
can.
a scale, yeah.
Yeah. So Renfield is, we're now in this place where we're sort of like all self-aware that, wait, Nicolas Cage actually is just having a jolt. Nicholas Hoult as well is in there too. Again, he's eating bugs like in Mad Max Fury Road. He was also in The Favourite. This is a very dynamic actor.
He's a phenomenal young actor who will go the distance.
The story here is that it's this comedy where Renfield obviously is in service to Dracula his entire existence. They made this pact where Renfield has these powers in exchange for bringing him fresh blood.
Yeah.
But it goes all the way into the modern era where Renfield has to deal with what is technically a toxic boss. He's in a gaslit relationship. So it's all these terms that we're just now figuring out about, like,
that's
liberating
brilliant.
yourself into a space of mental health. But
How woke is
your boss,
Dracula?
Yeah, I suppose the undead is not very woke.
Yeah, he's unwoken.
So he's in the support group where he's like, I can, Renfield, to liberate himself from this sort of oppressive, toxic relationship and whatever. And maybe there'll be a good lesson for all of us in there too about liberating ourselves from toxic bosses. Renfield, however, just looks like it laughs him, and it's I really look forward to this one.
I love it, man. Of course, we've also got Metallica 72 seasons releasing, which we'll
Metallica
hopefully
fans,
chat about
a
at
watch
something.
party, one
Just
night
do it.
only tonight. Get your
Because
tickets if you're a
nothing
Metallica
else
fan.
matters. Absolutely love it. If you want to get out this weekend, go to the big screen, go and see it at the box office.